What initially attracted you to bass guitar?
Well, I started out playing in a band when I was in junior high school, and I was playing guitar. And I played guitar all the way through high school, and I moved to Dallas, and I started hearing these great black musicians, and I noticed especially this bass player called Willie Weeks. He's still my favorite bass player in the world. And I started listening to James Jamerson, from the Motown bass player. And I started realizing there was so much more to bass than I'd ever thought there was. So I was just naturally drawn to it because, for one thing, I'd always been interested in the rhythm part of the band too. You know, it's like I got frustrated with drummers a lot. And it's like bass is kind of halfway. It's part rhythm and part melody. So, you know, for some reason I was just attracted to that. You know, bass is like any other instrument. There's no end to what you can do on it.
Now, of course, before Stevie, you spent some time working with Johnny Winter, and I believe your knowledge of the blues wasn't all that strong until you began working with Johnny.
That's right. You know, as a matter of fact, before that, you know, I was living in Dallas, and I remember listening to, you know, a lot of bands, Cream and John Mayall, and, you know, a lot of Peter Green, a lot of blues stuff that had actually been made into rock and roll. And I'd look on the record and see Robert Johnson as a writer or something, and I would think, well, I guess that's just some friend of theirs. I don't know. You know? And then when I got with Johnny, he set me down in his living room of his apartment. He had this whole wall of blues records, all the way from the current ones at that time, all the way back through up to field haulers. You know, about the first known blues I guess there was the field haulers. And it took several hours. We spent all night, and he just went through the whole progression with me. And that's really when I started understanding, you know, where it came from, and where so many of the musicians I really respected had gotten their influence. And it's really strange after that night, you know, when it was so easy to play blues then. You know, I just started playing.
It was like a crash course in the history of the blues.
Right.
Yeah.
But then playing bass just came naturally. Then playing blues, you know, on the bass was just natural.
So what were the circumstances surrounding you leaving Johnny's band?
Well, for one thing, we'd done 3 records, and at the time, Johnny wasn't confident in his songwriting, and we weren't, Uncle John and myself weren't really writing. And we kind of reached a point where we honestly didn't know what to do. So Johnny got with Rick Derringer and his band, which were called the McCoys at the time. And Rick Derringer had a lot of material. And so that's what really led to the breakup of the band. I mean, you know, it broke all our hearts. It broke Johnny's heart and broke our heart. But it seemed to be the time for that to happen. And Johnny and I are still very good friends. You know, I love him very much.
You remember your first meeting with Stevie and the first time you heard him play?
Yeah. What's strange is I met Stevie the same place I met Johnny Winter, at this club in Dallas called The Fog. That's F-O-G. And, well, that's where I met Johnny Winter. He came in when I was playing in a soul band in Dallas, and he came in to sit in and just blew me away. You know, I thought he was great. And he asked me if I wanted to join the band. I said, yeah, I will. And that's how I got with Johnny. And then after we broke up, I flew back to Dallas, and I decided to go back to the Fog because that's where all my friends were, and that was a happening place at the time. And as I was walking in, I heard this guitar player, and it just really struck me. You know, it's like one of those guitar players, you hear 3 or 4 notes and you know there's something special there. And I thought to myself, who could that be? I walked in, and it was a scrawny little 14-year-old kid, real awkward and shy, and it was Stevie, you know. And it's really strange, all the older musicians wouldn't even talk to him, just kind of blew him off like he was some kid, you know, just some nuisance. And but Stevie and I started talking that night, and we became good friends right away, and we were friends ever since. In fact, he mentioned in interviews himself that I was the only one who talked to him back then. But I knew he was special that first night. I knew there was something going on there.
That you could see the star potential there straight away.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those indescribable things, you know, it kind of pierces you through the heart. And you don't know why, but it's just something moves you, and you realize that there's something very special there.
Now, John Hammond was very instrumental in getting the band a recording deal. What kind of operator was he to work with?
Oh, John Hammond was wonderful. That was one of the greatest honors in my life to work with him because, you know, as you know, he discovered all these great people, Dylan, Springsteen, Billie Holiday, all the way back. And what's amazing is, you know, back when he first started, he knew good music. And then when the times changed, he still knew good music. And as an old man, he still knew good music, you know, and he was a wonderful man.
Now, it was around this time that Stevie had an opportunity to tour with David Bowie, and he passed that up. What was the story surrounding that?
Well, David Bowie heard us in at the Montreux Pop Festival in Switzerland, and he was blown away by Stevie. He thought he was great. And that night we got to jam with Jackson Browne and a lot of musicians. You know, Larry Graham was there, and we flew back to Texas after that. And Jackson Browne had offered us his studio free to go in and do our first record, which we did. Well, we did it in 2 days. And during that time period, David Bowie called and asked Stevie to do this tour. And Stevie said, well, let me think about it, you know. And then all Stevie's management and everyone wanted him to do it so bad that Stevie finally agreed to do it, but he asked if our band could open, you know, if we could open up with David Bowie, and then he would play with David Bowie. And that fell through. And Stevie was such a giving person, such a good person. You know, he wanted to keep us on salary while he was gone on this tour. But it's like he went through all the rehearsals with David Bowie, and the night before they were supposed to leave on tour, he realized he just couldn't do it because it wasn't what he loved. Now, don't get me wrong, he had a lot of respect for David Bowie. They were good friends. He liked David Bowie's music, and they got along very well. But at this time, you have to remember, Stevie didn't have anything. We were touring around the country in a milk truck, making $200 a week apiece. That's what we were making. And then we had to pay taxes out of that. But Stevie, he chose to stay with what he loved to do, which was play his guitar and play blues. And so he just couldn't bring himself to do it. And so we kept our band going, and we released our first record, and things started happening. That's just the kind of person Stevie was, you know. He could never change a certain part of himself, and he didn't want to. And that part was the part that was passionate about what he was doing. You know, he was passionate about it, and that's what he loved, and that's what he played.
At what album, what point do you think that the combination of Stevie and Double Trouble really hit its straps and became the band that you set it out to be?
Well, I think it was more of a gradual growing together than any certain period. It's like we just kept getting better and better as time went on. You know, like Couldn't Stand the Weather was a little more original, I think, than Texas Flood, you know, a little different. So it's like we just kept growing as a band. And, of course, Stevie and I went through our addiction, our alcohol and cocaine addiction. And as you can tell on Soul to Soul, we weren't in too good a shape by then.
Mm-hmm.
But after we got clean and sober, we came back with Instep, which I believe is our best record. And, you know, if you listen to them, our playing is so much better there. And that's the sad part, you know. When Stevie died, we were just on the verge of really making another breakthrough in our music. You know, we were such a powerful band. And we were just letting the music lead us. It wasn't like we were planning ahead what we were going to do. We were letting the music lead us.
So you'd say, without a doubt, we probably never got to hear the best of the combination?
Without a doubt. Yeah. Without a doubt. That's one of the many things about Stevie's death that hurts, you know, as I know we'd finally got our lives together, and we were loving what we were doing, and no telling where we'd have been by now.
Yeah,
what we'd been doing
through those years with alcohol and drugs being such a focus. How hard was it to maintain any kind of serious focus on developing music?
Well, you know, at first it didn't hurt us that bad. We were having a good time. It wasn't like we were miserable or anything like that. We were having a great time, you know, partying and getting more and more popular, and we were just having a lot of fun playing. You know, we were very much into our playing. But then after a while, it started taking complete control of both Stevie and myself, and it just got worse and worse and worse, you know, and finally we both hit a bottom, you know, which we had to either choose to live or die. And the only way to learn how to live was to totally change our lives from the inside out, and that's what we started working on.
How ambitious was Stevie in those early years? Did he really seek the limelight much, or was he more engrossed in the music to worry about those things?
Oh, he was. Stevie never set out to be famous or successful. He never was manipulating. He never was like, oh, I got to get a record deal. I've got to do this or that. You know, he was never like that. We just loved what we were doing. You know, I mean, we were traveling around the milk truck. No one knew who we were. We were still loving what we were doing. And Stevie was always guided by his passion more than ambition. There's a big difference there. You know, in ambition, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. But you can misplace it, you know, and it can get way out of proportion. But Stevie was more in love with music, passionate about it, and I honestly believe if you're that way, all the other things fall in place naturally. It's like building a house. You have to start with the foundation and then build the walls and the roof and so on. But if you have that foundation of really loving what you're doing, then you're going to get better at it, and people are going to pick up on that. You know, it's just natural. People pick up on it. And all the other good things fall in place naturally if that comes first.
What do you remember of the tragic night we lost Stevie, and how long afterwards did it take you to be able to adapt to get serious about continuing in music yourself?
Well, the morning after Stevie's death, when I got the phone call that Stevie had died, there's no way I can put into words what I felt. I mean, my whole life was taken away from me right there in one split second. You know, it's like I'd lost the best friend I ever had, the best, beautiful, most gratifying musical experience, you know, the best gig. It's like I lost everything, and I was so devastated that for weeks after I got back home, I could hardly even leave the house. You know, it was all I could do just to get in the car and go to the store. I didn't want to talk to nobody. You know, it's like if somebody just said hello. You know, it's like I didn't even want to say hello back. I mean, the world just seemed so dark. You know, and I went into this terrible depression. And finally, one night I went out and I sat in with this band. I had to force myself to go do it, get out of the house and go sit in with this band. And I noticed that it made me feel a little better to play. You know, it wasn't Stevie up there I was playing with, which really hurt, but it was good for me to get up and play again. Mm. So I gradually started sitting in and slowly got back into playing again, because it was very good for me. Playing music is very healing. And, you know, and I know that's what Stevie would have wanted me to do too. He wouldn't wanted me to just lay down and die. And so we formed the Archangels, and that's, you know, by then I was back into playing again.
Storyville was another band you were involved with too. Can you tell us a little bit about them?
Well, Storyville, there was a lot of talent in Storyville, but I can't put my finger on it, but, you know, it's like things just didn't go right for us. You know, we didn't get much push at radio. We didn't get a lot of support from the record company, and we did a lot of touring that didn't do us any good at all, and it finally just wore the band out. You know, that's why we broke up. We were just basically had enough. You know, we were still friends, but it became too hard. You know, it's like in Austin or around Texas, we packed every place we played. And there were a few places in the United States where we'd draw good crowds, but all in all, we just never had any good radio songs, except for Good Day for the Blues, which did real good. But we're still good friends, and right now Chris and I are doing our own record, a Double Trouble record. And I'm real happy now with what I'm doing.
What stage is that record now? What can you tell us about it?
Well, Chris and I, we decided, you know, for so many years people have been saying, you guys should do your own record. So we finally decided, yeah, let's do that. And what we're doing, we're bringing in several guest musicians that we've talked to, some really great ones. And we're going to play different songs with different people. We've been writing a lot of material with a friend of ours, and some of that material will be on our record. And we're just having a lot of fun doing it. You know, it's really great because, you know, it's like our record.
I believe we're also about to be blessed with the re-release of some of the old albums with some unreleased tracks as well.
Pardon?
Some of the old Double Trouble albums, I believe, are going to be re-released soon with some unreleased tracks on them.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they have bonus tracks, and they've been remastered, and they sound great. You know, I'm real happy with them. I listen to them, and it's like listening to a new record.
What are some of the highlights of the unreleased material?
Well, let's see. I've got them right here in front of me. Well, let's see. Look at Little Sister's real good. There's another volume of that on there. It's a little faster than the first one on the record. And there's a lot of them. Let's see. Trying to think which ones are the best, but they're all real good.
Did it surprise you how much unreleased stuff was still around?
Yeah, it did. I'd forgotten we recorded some of this stuff, and of course they got some live stuff, and they've got a live recording of Texas Flood, which is really good, and a live recording of Life Without You, which is really good.
Oh, great.
And they have a real good version of Mary Had a Little Lamb live, and they also have Wham on there, which no one had ever really heard us do. And, you know, it's really strange, Third Stone from the Sun. Last time I'd heard that was when I was playing with Stevie. And so that was real interesting to see that on there. And we have Hideaway and Give Me Back My Wig. You know, it's a Hound Dog Taylor song.
Yeah.
It's really good. And there's also Come On Part 3. The one we did on the record was Come On Part 2. And what we did, you know, when we recorded the song, we did several takes of the song, and we picked what we thought was the best one. Of course, that was the one with the best guitar track. Well, they took another version off that same session and put it as one of the bonus tracks. And it's really good. It's a real good band track, and Stevie's playing real good. So there's a lot of really interesting stuff on here, and they did a real good job of remastering it, too.
Oh, great. Well, we've got a lot to look forward to there, as well as your new recording as well. What time frame are you looking for the new album?
Well, hopefully this year. You know, we want to get it out this year. We don't have a date pinned down yet. You know, we have started to work on it. It's, you know, it's not a record we can go in and do all at one time.
Yeah.
We have to coordinate everyone's schedule, so
Sure.
we do it like one person at a time.
Are you playing live as Double Trouble?
Yeah, we are some. We have this band on the side that we play in sometimes. It's just like a fun thing. It's called the Mighty Zor, Z-O-R. And who it is Doyle Bramall II, you know, that was in Archangels.
Yeah.
And Denny Freeman, who is an incredible guitar player. You know, Stevie loved Denny Freeman. And Chris and myself. And we played this last weekend, Anton's. It was great. I mean, it's a great band. We had a lot of fun.
Excellent. Have you ever stopped to think what direction Stevie may have gone musically had he still been around today?
Well, I think he would probably... I can't really say for sure, you know, because no one really knows what the future would have held. But my guess, I'll give you my guess. I think Stevie would have probably written... His songwriting was coming along better. I think he would have written more songs and probably showed a more sensitive side of himself. And he probably dipped into jazz a little bit more.
Yeah.
But you can bet there'd still be a lot of blues in there.
Sure.
He'd probably put horns and stuff on a lot of it. I always loved horns.
Okay, Tommy, look, I want to thank you very much for your time. It's been a real treat talking to you.
Okay, if I could, let me give you our website. If you could tag this on there, it'd be great, because it's called srvdoubletrouble.com. And we're trying to get people to look at it, because it's got some great pictures in there, you know, of us back all the way in the first bands we ever played with, back when we were kids. It's got pictures of Stevie and I in a band when he was about 16 years old, and it's got pictures of Stevie just cutting up, having a good time, you know, pictures no one's ever seen. And it's a real good website.
I can recommend it. I've been there myself. It is a terrific site. And I'm sure people going there will be able to check up on the progress of the new album as it comes along too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You can feel free to call me anytime.
That'll be great. And hopefully maybe we'll get to see you back down here again. You're always a welcome visitor in the past, and we'd love to see you again.
Oh, I hope so. I love it over there. I love it.
Good on you, Tommy. Thanks again.
All right, thank you.
You take care.
All right.
Bye-bye.